How Joseph's dream came true. When Joseph was made ruler over the land of Egypt, he did just as he has always done. It was not Joseph's way to sit down and rest and enjoy himself. He found his work at once and began to do it faithfully and thoroughly. He went over all the land of Egypt and saw how rich and abundant were the fields of grain, giving much more than the people could use for their own needs. He told the people not to waste it, but to save it for the coming time. He called the people to give for the king 1 bushel of grain out of every 5, to be stored up. The people brought their grain after taking for themselves as much as they needed, and Joseph stored the rest in great storehouses in the cities, so much that at last no one could keep count of it. The king of Egypt gave a wife to Joseph. Her name was Asenath, and to Joseph and his wife God gave 2 sons. The oldest son he named Manasseh, a word which means making to forget. For Joseph said, God has made me forget all of my troubles and my toil as a slave. The second son he named Ephraim, a word that means fruitful. Because, said Joseph, God has not only made the land fruitful, but he has made me fruitful in the land of my troubles. The 7 years of plenty soon passed by, and then came the years of need in the lands around the people, and they were hungry. For there was no food for them to eat. But in the land of Egypt everybody had enough. Most of the people soon used up the grain that was saved, and many of them saved none at all, and they cried to the king to help them. Go to Joseph, said the king Pharaoh, and do whatever he tells you. The people came to Joseph, and Joseph opened the storehouses and sold the people the grain they wished to buy. And not the people of Egypt came to buy, but from all around the land, for the famine was everywhere. And the need was as great in the land of Canaan where Jacob lived as in other lands. Jacob was rich in flocks and cattle and gold and silver, but his fields gave no grain, and there was danger. And Jacob, who was now called Israel, heard that there was food in Egypt, and he told his sons, Why do you look at each other, asking what to do? I have told you that there is grain in Egypt. Go down and buy grain. The 10 older brothers of Joseph went down to the land of Egypt. But Jacob would not let Benjamin go, Joseph's younger brother, for he was all dear to him, now that Joseph was no longer with him, and Jacob feared harm might come. Then Joseph's brother came to Joseph to buy food. They did not know him, grown up to be a man, dressed as a prince, and seated at the throne. Joseph was nearly 40 years old, and it had been almost 23 years since they had sold him. But Joseph knew them all. As soon as he saw them, he resolved to be sharp and stern with him, not because he hated them, but he wished to see what their spirit was, and whether they were selfish and cruel and wicked as they had been in those days. They came before him and bowed with their faces to the ground. Then no doubt Joseph thought of the dream that had come to him while he was a boy, and his father. He spoke to them as a stranger, as if he did not understand their language, and he had the words explained to him in the language of Egypt. Who are you, and from what place do you go? Said Joseph in a harsh, stern manner. They said, We come from the land of Canaan to buy food. No, said Joseph, I know what you have come. You have come as spies to see how helpless the land is, so that you can bring an army against us and make war on us. No, no, said Joseph's 10 brothers. We are no spies. We are the sons of one man who lives in the land of Canaan. We have come for food because we have none. You say that you are the sons of one man? Who is your father? Is he living? Have any more brothers? Tell me about yourselves. And they said, Our father is an old man in Canaan. We did have a younger brother, but he was lost. We have one brother still, and he is the youngest, but he did not come with us. No, said Joseph, you are not good, honest men, you are spies. I shall put you all in prison except one of you, and you shall go and bring me the youngest brothers of yours, and see him. When I see him, then I will believe you. So Joseph put all the men in prison, and kept them under guard for 3 days, and then sent for them again. They did not know that they could understand their language, and they said to each other while Joseph heard, but pretended not to hear, This has come upon us because of the wrong we did to our brother Joseph more than 20 years ago. We heard him cry and plead with us when we threw him into that pit. God, please have mercy. He is giving us what he deserved. And Reuben, who had tried to save Joseph, Did I not tell you to harm that boy? And you would not listen to me. God is bringing this brother's blood upon us. When Joseph heard this, his heart was cut. He saw that his brothers were really sorry for the wrong that they had done to him. He turned away from them so that they could not see his face, and he wept. Then he turned again to them and spoke roughly as before and said, This I will do. for I serve God. I will let you all go home except one man. One of you I will shut up in prison, but the rest of you can go home and take food for your people. And you must come back and bring your youngest brother with you, and I shall know then that you have spoken the truth." Then Joseph gave orders, and his servants seized one of the brothers, whose name was Simeon, and bound him in their sight, and took him away to prison. He ordered his servants to fill the man's sack with grains, and put the man's money back in the sack as before, so that they would find the money as soon as they opened the sack. Then the men loaded their donkeys in the sacks of grain and started to go home, leaving their brother Simeon as a prisoner. When they stopped along the way to feed their donkeys, their brothers opened their sack, and there they found the money lying on the top. He called out to his brothers, "See, here's the money that they have given me," and they are frightened. But they did not dare go back to Egypt and meet the stern ruler of the land. They went home and told their father all that had happened to them, and how their brother Simeon was in prison and must stay there until they shall return with Benjamin. When they opened their sacks of grain there in the mouth of the sack with the money that they had given, they were filled with fear. Then they spoke of going to Egypt and taking Benjamin. But Jacob said to them, "You are taking my sons away from me. Joseph is gone, Simeon is gone, and now you would take Benjamin away? All these things are against me." Reuben said, "Here are my own 2 boys. You may kill them if you wish, in case I do not bring Benjamin back to you." But Jacob said, "My youngest son shall not go with you. His brother is dead, and he is alone left to me. If harm should come to him, it would bring me down to my grave. The sorrow I cannot bear."